Hello, everyone. Welcome to First Fridays. Let me just go live on Instagram as well. Okay, I think we're good. Hi, happy first Friday of August to all. I'm Anna Potter, Senior Immigration Attorney at McEntee Law. I work primarily on the business side of the practice, but a bit about the firm. We are immigrant and female founded. We practice in all aspects of immigration, not just business. So we've got music, sports and entertainment, humanitarian. And every first Friday of the month, we like to come live on socials to give you all a recap of the latest updates in immigration. Hope you guys have been enjoying the summer. I know I've been loving tuning into the Olympics primetime recaps each night. So we'll be talking a bit about the Olympics later today too. But before we dive in to the updates, I want to start with our usual disclaimers and reminders. This live is for informational purposes only. I am a lawyer, but I am not your lawyer. So if you have specific questions, please make sure to schedule a consult to go over your specific case. And we'll make sure to leave time for some questions at the end. Just a reminder that this is a public forum, so just please be mindful of that. If you're putting any confidential information in the chats, maybe save that for a private consultation instead. Okay, and with all that said, let's get into some U.S. immigration updates. First up is some big news for our H1B hopefuls. USCIS announced this week that it will be conducting a second round of selections for the H1B Lottery. For those of you that maybe had an H1B CAP registration submitted back in March, but weren't selected in the lottery, there may still be a chance to be selected now. This does not apply to new registrations. They are just doing a secondary round of selections from the existing pool of registrations that were not previously selected. In terms of timeline, this is expected to take place soon, and USCIS will send another announcement when the process has been completed. So make sure that the employer and attorney's USCIS online accounts are being closely monitored because any updates will be going there directly. Related to CAP, I thought it would also be a good time to give some reminders for those of you who maybe were selected and who have had H1B filings approved. If your case was filed and approved as a change of status application, maybe you're an F1 student, for example, first of all, congratulations. And secondly, that means that your status should automatically change on October 1st of this year if you've not traveled abroad. If you are outside the US or if your case was filed under consular notification, then you would need to take the approval notice and apply for an H-1B visa stamp at a US embassy abroad before you can enter and activate your H-1B status. A few reminders, actually, in addition to that, for those who have H-1B status kicking in this year, remember to work with your HR department to ensure that your I-9 is properly updated. That's the employer eligibility verification document. You want to make sure that's updated with your new work visa status, either on October 1st or within 3 days of that change. Other reminders, if you move to a new address, make sure you update not just your company and your legal team, but also USCIS. You need to update them by updating your address online in your My USCIS account. And if there's been any changes to your role, or if there are in the future, please be sure to notify your legal team, ideally before they take effect. I know that's not always possible, but it's important to let us or your legal team know so that they can assess any impact to the H-1B. So that would be if your job duties change slightly, if there's a change in your work site, change in salary, just when in doubt, flag and ask. Next up, we have some guidance related to President Biden's June executive order on the Parole in Place program for spouses and children of U.S. citizens. We covered this back in June when the executive order was first announced. It's a great humanitarian executive order aimed at keeping families together, allowing non-citizen spouses and children of US citizens to have a path for lawful permanent residency if they meet certain criteria. But an update is that we now have a registration start date. The White House announced that starting on August 19th, so just a little bit, a little bit further in this month, eligible family members of US citizens can apply for parole in place. So we've got some tips for how you can start preparing now. We suggest gathering some key documents. These will include civil documents. So, marriage license, proof of the spouse's US citizenship, whether it's naturalization or birth certificate, passports, any arrest records or police records if applicable, proof of your relationship together. So photos, utility bills, vehicle loans, and show proof of physical presence for the last 10 years. So again, utility bills and bank statements are great there, tax returns. If you want a full list, you can reach out to us at info@mcentlaw.com. Or you can follow us on socials because we are going to make sure that we're continuing to put out information and tips on this. There have also been updates to the International Entrepreneur Parole, also called IEP for immigrant founders. I wanted to give some background on what the IEP program is for those who may not know. It was first introduced under the Obama administration, Obama-Biden, and it's intended for high potential startups and founders. And so, you can apply if immigrant entrepreneurs, if they have received significant funding from investors or through government grants or through a combination of both. They also need to demonstrate that the business has high potential for growth and job creation. The Trump administration tried to rescind IEP, but thankfully it was reinstated by the current Biden-Harris administration. And USCIS recently provided some new information that we think is going to help get more of these applications processed more quickly. The first is the great news that they confirmed they have worked through the previous backlog of IEP cases. The processing times used to be very long, which made this option not widely used. This should be getting better now. They should be working through these cases much more quickly than they have been. And the second update here is that there is a new evidence checklist that is aimed to help applicants be more confident, save time, especially those in AI and other critical and emerging tech fields. USCIS also published FAQs. So that provides really helpful information on how entrepreneurs and their spouses and children can all stay together in the US. So needless to say, we are happy to see these updates. This program is years old, but it's just now becoming more accessible. And we've had great success with a case that we think was approved in record time. So we're just excited about this. Our managing partner, Fiona McEntee, has worked really tirelessly the past 8+ years on this option. And I think she sent out letters even as recently as June 2024, really urging them to make this more feasible for immigrant entrepreneurs. So if you have any questions about this, again, reach out to our team. And I wanted to close out with a bit about the Olympics too. So last Friday, I was watching the opening ceremony with my husband, just seeing all the countries represented in the boats traveling down the Seine in Paris. And I had tears in my eyes looking at the Refugee Olympic team. And I just thought it was so cool. I'm not sure how widely known it is. So we thought it might be, interesting to share some information about it. The Refugee Olympic team represents more than 100 million forcibly displaced people worldwide. It was created in March of 2016 after more than 1 million refugees entered Europe after fleeing wars from various other regions. But the International Olympic Committee created a refugee emergency fund to integrate refugee athletes into sports. And today, 132,000 people participate in programs of the Olympic Refugee Foundation. So just so inspirational. And again, I thought it would be interesting to share with you all too. Now we have some time for some questions. We have some here that I'll read out and answer as best as I can. Let me just pull them up real quick. Okay. Can you share any success stories of influencers or content creators who successfully got an O1 visa? I'm an influencer just starting to think about coming to the US and want to know if it's even possible. Yes, it definitely is possible. And this is something we have a lot of experience with. We have worked with all types of content creators from fitness to fashion, contortionists, even. If you have any questions or want a case assessment on the feasibility, we're happy to, get on a consult with you. Another resource I want to point you to is an O1B webinar that Fiona and I hosted back in April that was specifically for influencers and content creators. So you can search for that on our YouTube page. If you have any trouble finding it, just reach out to our info email and we can send you the link. But that should have some helpful details to get you started. Next question is, I'm an international DJ wanting to perform festivals in the US. Can I use an O1 visa and how do I start the process? Very timely with Lollapalooza happening in Chicago. Lots of DJs and music groups coming out. The O1 is definitely an option here. Another potential option could be the P1, but that is more geared to groups. So if it's a one-person DJ or band, maybe an O1 is more applicable. We have a whole division of our firm dedicated to music and sports, headed up by Ray McEntee. So he would be your guy for any more specific questions on this or a case assessment. What should I do if my visa application gets denied? Are there any ways to appeal or reapply? My first question is, was this a visa application through USCIS or through a consulate or embassy abroad? If it's a consulate, you could try to reapply. Again, it's kind of case specific. There may be some additional considerations here. So we would definitely want to talk to you about what exactly happened. Same goes for if it was a USCIS filing that perhaps was RFE'd and then denied. There are avenues for appeals, but appeals can take a very long time and not always guaranteed success. So most folks tend to find that refiling, maybe with some adjustments to the case and to evidence is a better approach. But again, we're happy to talk to you about your case specifics to see what would work best. Do you have any tips for making my immigration story stand out in my visa application as a YouTuber? I love this. It's a great question. So I would, again, point back to our O1B webinar. Fiona and I, it was all geared towards influencers and content creators. So I think that webinar will have some helpful tips and considerations, but also we're happy to jump on a consult and dig into the specifics of your case. Let me see if there are any other questions. I don't see, double check here. I don't see any more posted on the live, but I will close out with some additional reminders. If you didn't have time to type your question in, you can always email us, info@mcenteelaw.com, or you can even just send us a DM on whatever platform you're currently watching this on. Our next First Friday will be September 6th, so be sure to learn for the latest and greatest in immigration next month. And then don't forget to follow us on our social media. We do announce immigration and policy updates as they happen, in addition to these monthly recaps. So that way you can get the most up-to-date guidance and alerts. And just thank you again for joining us. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you have a great rest of your Friday. Thank you.